All right, here we are. It's what is it? Tuesday? I'm losing track of the days.
Tuesday, yes.
It's Tuesday. Tuesday, we're here. Catalyst, Chip Rogers, Chief Partner Officer, and we are this time we're right in the middle of the exhibition floor,
Very cool.
which is nice. I got people kind of walking around. I see Chris
Walking around, and
Samela
everyone's
walking.
wearing headphones, so there's keynotes, but it's very quiet.
Yeah,
which
they
is,
got
it's very
the,
cool.
silent
Silent
disco. I
disco,
think
that's
they're
it. Maybe
yeah.
later on it'll be a silent disco.
So I am so excited to be here with Basem Emera. Basem. You and I met in Sydney earlier in the year,
We did,
and
yes.
you've been just really doing fantastic work.
Thank you.
At the time we met, you were Senior VP of Partnerships at Go1.
Correct, yep.
For about 5 years, I think.
Yeah,
and
5 years, yeah. Felt
and
like
then
50, but it was 5.
And Go1 has just been on a tear, and I'm sure a lot having to do with working with partners. And
Absolutely.
but now you've gone. You're going with a real startup co-founder.
That's right, yeah. Crazy enough to try and do it again and scale another company. So moved on from Go1 actually just a couple of weeks ago. I still follow them very, very closely. It's a very successful story. Also from a partnerships perspective, to be powering the revenue of the company for so long is a really good story. Doing a broader leadership role at a company called Tacklet. We're an end-to-end operating system for mental health care providers. I think the way that mental health care is delivered to patients today, all the way from selecting your practitioner to the delivery of care, requires a bit of an uplift, I would say. Taking on a co-founder status and chief commercial officer at a company called Tacklet in Australia, which is very exciting to be able to move from partnerships, which is broad and narrow at the same time, to something a smaller company, but a much larger role. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and still, I'm sure, especially in healthcare, partners are going to be central to how your whole go-to-market.
Absolutely. I think it's a different lens, right? Because now I'm thinking about, I've built and scaled a partner program at Go1, which was successful, but this is a startup now, so I'm thinking about go-to-market. We're self-funded, and therefore we don't have the luxury of just throwing money everywhere. So what is the most efficient way to enter new markets? And partnerships is the one thing that screams at me as a really low-cost, effective way to test different markets. So definitely be hiring a partner manager in the US pretty soon to do a bit of groundwork for me and kick things off. But very excited.
Well, that's great. So why don't we start there? I think you've been very passionate about, and it was great in Melbourne.
And
Melbourne. Yeah, in Melbourne. Yeah. We're talking with the group and just talking about partnerships and how critical partnerships are to growth.
Absolutely.
And you can grow at scale and at lower cost. And so let's talk a little bit about it. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think if you get it right, it can be very, very attractive for your organization. It can also be quite dilutive, right? If you incentivize partners the wrong way or pay them too much or whatever it might be. So you really have to think about where you're at in your organization's journey and where your partner program is at. Very, very early on at Go1, it was just about revenue, and therefore it was instrumental to our ability to scale. Our partners, we basically plugged in all of the digital learning content from around the world and partnered with all of these software vendors who acted as this top of funnel machine for us, which was really powerful for our sales reps who are ramping.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really powerful story, but you have to then think about, on the flip side to that, what does the 2-year journey look like? What does the 3-year journey look like? Because if you get it wrong, it can be quite dilutive. And what I mean by that is, you have $100 come in the door. If you're paying your partner, then paying your partner sales rep, and then paying an SDR, then paying an AE, it can be dilutive. So in the modern world now, where the CFOs are demanding efficiency and demanding your program to clearly articulate how they drive value for the business, I think it's really important to be focused on bottom line metrics as well.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you balance?
It's
any tricks you want to?
Well, I think knowing your business really well, knowing your partner business really well, and the one piece of advice that I always give emerging partner leaders is really, really articulate to your board and to your executive team the purpose of what your partner does in your sales cycle. If they are a lead generator, great. If they are an influencer and help accelerate deal cycle, great. But be able to articulate that and then measure that really well. Because if you can measure that, well, then you can start to think about, well, how much is that worth to me?
Yep.
And if you can do that well and you can prove that story, well, then on the back of that, you get funding and you get partner marketing resources and you get what you want. But if your partner program is opaque and you can't demonstrate how it adds value to your organization, I think you're in trouble.
Yeah. And the different touch points that you just talked about, there are different value associated with them. So if you pay too much for something that's of lower value, then you're going to just break the bank.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a balancing act, right? I mean, I'm talking about metrics, but fundamentally at its heart, partnerships is a relationship-driven business, right? So you can't forget that you are dealing with another organization who you want them to help you and you want to help them, and therefore forging relationships is equally as important. So the thing I love about partnerships is that you need to be a mini CEO of your business. You need to know how to manage relationships well. You need to know your P&L. You need to be strong at sales enablement because you'll be doing that. You need to know a little bit about partner marketing. So it's a great field, and it's great to be here seeing the partner playbook just keep growing and being enhanced by the great guys that are putting on the conference. So really, really cool.
Yeah, this really is amazing. Just the energy here. I mean, I love walking around, and
it's really cool.
everybody that you see is like, oh, these are all our friends, right?
Yes,
I mean, it's
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, I was joking with a colleague of mine. It was very lonely. You'd be very, very hard pressed to find someone to talk to about the theory of partnerships, and to be at a conference where there's 600 or 700 people here this week is just awesome. So doing what I can to share my story, and hopefully it's valuable to the broader community, and hopefully learn a lot over the next couple of days as well.
Absolutely. So Basem, at Go1, very successful partner program, helped grow it was part of the growth story for Go1.
Yep.
What were the many sort of few things that you would want to share that were really instrumental in especially in that stage of growth?
Well, I think as in having a view of what you want your partner to do and testing that really well. So what was really successful for us early on is that we had a very, very strong focus on a very small select number of partners. And what that enabled us to do is it enabled us to seek feedback, to build the playbook. We are probably 70% co-sale partnerships. So therefore your focus is the organization sales rep and getting mind share with them. So if you try and do that at scale too early, I think you can really, really struggle. But if you focus on one organization, make them the champion, make the sales reps your champions, and essentially they're your stakeholders. And what we did is we focused really hard on partner enablement, and that was the thing that really helped us scale. Once we got 2 or 3 partners working well, then we were able to replicate that in new markets and new verticals. We started speaking to the SIs, and it just grew from there. But at its core has always been positioning our product in another organization's sales cycle and making sure we don't lose focus of that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love the sort of crawl, walk, run, right? I mean, just get it really tested out with 2 or 3 partners at the most, and then build from there. Because then I think both the partner and you experience it, and you have learnings from that, and then the sales team understands. Oh, these are like they understand. They've already they've had the experience already.
Exactly,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'll also say the program has to morph and has to evolve throughout your time. We were an early stage startup when I first joined, and therefore revenue was the sole focus. Then it was growth, then it was efficiency. So you just need to be able to understand your organization's priorities and make sure that your partner program always fits into those priorities. Very, very important that you sort of take a step back and think about, well, how is my program adding value? How can it be improved? Are we in a build phase, efficiency phase? What phase are we in? And continuously ask yourself those questions, I think, is really important.
I love also that in this new role you're taking on a broader scope with Chief Commercial Officer.
Yes.
First of all, I love seeing that from partner folks, people that have run partner organizations, that it's really central to the revenue story, and then that you're able to now leverage that into a full revenue role. How do you think about that, and what were the conversations like at Tackle It? The leadership, your co-founders, when you were starting to tell that story, and that it made sense for that role for you.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky that I was introduced to the CEO and founder, Chris Griffiths, a few weeks ago by someone who worked at Go1 and was on the board, who knew me quite closely. So I think that person was able to articulate the story of how instrumental partnerships was to Go1 to Chris, and therefore Chris and I got together and we talked. But I think at its core is leading any go-to-market channel, whether you're a CMO, whether you're a chief partner officer, whether you're a SDR lead. Within all of those segments, you're still asking yourself the same questions, which is, how does my channel function within the broader scope of the organization? and therefore this role is basically partnerships, managing P&L, doing marketing, sales enablement, all that sort of stuff, but just on a grander scale, on a bigger scale. So I think anyone that's in partnerships, I think it is a really good grounding for a broader revenue leadership role if you can articulate the story as to how powerful your program was to your organization. So I'll say to people out there that it is a really good stepping stone, and if I can be helpful to anyone out there, please reach out.
That's fantastic. Basem, thank you so much for taking a few minutes and sharing your story, and for making the trip across the Pacific to be here in Denver, and great to see you again.
Yeah, you too. I'll be fading by about 1 o'clock with the jet lag, but so far so good. Thanks a lot, Chip.
Okay. Basem, thank you, and thank you all for joining, and we'll see you later today.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.